Chair, board, and neighbors, thank you for letting us present here tonight. My name's Monika, and I work with Michael's Development Company, and we're working with the Hawaii Public Housing Authority on revitalizing Kuhio Park Terrace. Now, although Kuhio Park Terrace isn't part of Neighborhood Board 16, you are important neighbors to us, so we certainly want to keep you informed of what's going on at Kuhio Park. So to get started, we started on our first phase back in May of 2011. And the whole revitalization of Kuhio Park is a long-term revitalization. It's about a 10-year plan. But we got started with like the biggest chunk, which was the $135 million renovation of the two towers. And we successfully completed that at the end of the end of 2012. And we've just displayed some pictures of the before and after, so you can kind of see the transformation that's gone on in our community out there. I'm really proud to announce that the project's been so successful that we've actually received some wonderful awards. So the commercial real estate industry, which is called NIOP here in Hawaii, they awarded the Towers of Kuhio Park as Project of the Year for a commercial renovation project. So we're very excited about that. And then we've also won a national award. It's called for a Tax Credit Excellence Award. Since we financed the renovations with tax credits, we received an honorable mention award, and it's very distinguished because that award is actually given at Washington, D.C. By Congress. So, Kalihi is going to be recognized all the way in Washington, D.C. So I wanted to share that wonderful news with the community. So segueing off of the success of the towers, we partnered with the Housing Authority and applied for a very competitive grant from HUD called Choice Neighborhoods. And we were just so blessed to announce that we received that grant. And because of that, the whole Choice Neighborhood Initiative really focuses on a comprehensive revitalization of not just the Kuhio Park campus, but a larger neighborhood. And so our neighborhood is from School Street to Middle, Highway 1, and along Kalihi. Now, does that mean that our vision's going to stop because that's where we had to define our borders according to the application? No. We would love our initiative to reach all areas of Kalihi. And we're really excited because we have some very distinguished and influential people who have joined us on this initiative. And so Councilman Manahan is chairing our neighborhood task force. Sam Iona is our steering committee chairperson. Senator Oakland is chairing our people task force, and Hakeem Owensafi is chairing the housing task force. And we have a wonderful leader, Jennifer Dang, who's very influential in the educational world, and she is chairing our educational task force. So what does this Choice Neighborhood Grant mean? Well, what it means is that over the next 24 months, we will be developing a comprehensive transformation plan that will focus not only on housing improvements, but improvements for supportive services, improvements in education, and also improvements in the neighborhood, whether it has to do with transportation, retail, job opportunities, the whole gamut. And after we develop this transformation plan, that puts us in a strong position to apply for the next big pot of gold, which is called the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant. And a successful award of an implementation grant would bring $30 million into our community to really expedite the transformation plan that we'll be developing over the next 24 months. Over the next 24 months, we'll be reaching out to our neighbors, including you, and we'll be having design charrettes. We're very honored to have Chair Wong on our neighborhood task force, and so I feel confident that your issues will be represented well, but we'll also be opening up our doors. So if you'd like to join us as we go through the design process, we would love to have your participation. To kind of keep updated on what's going on with the Choice neighborhood, there's actually a website, and I brought a couple of handouts so you had some things to take away with you tonight. So at the bottom of this one that has the map showing the area for our Choice neighborhood planning grant, on the back, in small print, because we had to add it afterwards, is the website. And so we will continuously update this website to keep everybody informed of what's going on in all the different areas that we're trying to create improvements. And there's also the handout of the before and after, so to speak, of the tower renovation. So you can have that because it has a little bit more information. So I think at this point, I am welcome to take any questions, if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask.
Board, any questions? Mrs. Mafi?
I was looking at your map, and on here, the low-rise area is marked in purple, and then there's some black marking that says that those are the building that's going to be demolished. What's going to replace that?
There'll be new housing replacing. There's the low-rise community, basically what has not been revitalized yet. It consists of 176 units. And so those are like those two-story buildings. So the original plan was to demo those and then replace those with new housing. And so that's the plan for that they will not be renovated like the towers were. It'll be new construction.
Low-rise, not tower-wise, right?
This is all part of the design process. We have not determined that yet. Our original master plan is now scrapped because of the fact that we have this wonderful grant, and so we'll be embarking on the new master plan for the community. So, if you have strong feelings about whether it should be low-rise, high-rise, mid-rise, or, please participate in the design process.
And also the Linapuni Elementary School,
Yeah.
Is it going to be a future there for Linapuni Elementary? Is it going to be still there?
Absolutely. Linapuni is a very important part of our community, so we definitely want to preserve their presence on our campus.
That's it.
Okay, anyone else from the board? Anyone else in the audience? I think this is a great presentation, and I wanted this presentation because I think there's especially members on the board that would have great insight looking at some of them right now who could contribute greatly to this project. We all have friends and relatives in that area. It's a great buy-in. So those board members, Mrs. Mafi?
I got one more question. What would something at the Kuhio, the after project, what would something like that run in regards to price?
Cost?
Yes.
When we had originally priced redeveloping the community, we were in the $300 million range. Now the tower renovation was $135 million, so I think that a safe ballpark would be about at least $170 million.
Okay. I'm sorry. The question. Thank you for that answer. To stay at Kuhio Park Terrace, is it affordable or is it going to be what price range?
It's affordable housing is so needed in Hawaii. But there's different levels of affordability. So maybe I should talk about that just for a second. So what we did at the towers is originally it was all public housing, and the challenge with that is that the subsidy that the that the housing authority gets for public housing is a break-even operation. So whatever it costs to run in a unit is basically what they get in a subsidy. So that's kind of part of the reason why there was such a long-term deterioration over there. So throughout the nation, the way to revitalize public housing communities is kind of do these public-private partnerships where we come in and we privatize and we change some of the income structure so that way we can have operations that really support the capital needs of the community. So in the case of the towers, originally there was 555 public housing units. Now there's 347 public housing units, and 150 units were converted to project-based vouchers. So for the residents, there was no financial impact to them because whether you're a public housing resident or if you're a Section 8 resident, you pay 30% of your income towards your housing expenses. So for our residents, there was no change as far as how much they had to pay, but what it means to our operations is we get funded at a much higher level per unit if it's a Section 8 unit, and that helps us successfully run our operations. There was also 58 units that were converted to be to have no subsidy, but they're affordable. So they're are restricted to be affordable units for like 60 years, and so they have to be affordable to families that are at 60% of the area median income or less. And it was such an interesting experience because as soon as a unit was available, it was leased. We were overwhelmed with the demand. And I was really touched because we actually had 6 residents move in who were working homeless. So they income qualified, but they were just could not find decent affordable housing, and they were living in either their cars or shelters. So that really, that really speaks to what a high demand and need there is in the community for all different kinds of affordability in our community.
That's a really big chunk of from 555 units, and 347 becomes the affordable, or 347 will be
Exactly 347 plus the 150. So, so the public housing residents, were either stayed in public housing units or were in the Section 8 units. But, from one door to one door, you can't tell. It's just how it's designated and funded by the federal government. So it's not like, 150 plus families were displaced. Actually, we used a relocation model where residents relocated on site. So 96% of the residents were able to remain on site during the whole renovation process. So we only had 20 families that were permanently relocated to other public housing properties. And we interviewed all the residents, and those residents moved because either, one, they wanted to move to a different community, or they had a special need. Maybe they had a handicap accessible need that wasn't being met at the towers because there was no handicap accessible units when we first got there. Now we have 33 handicap accessible units.
Does it keep it in the future all at the same playing field, meaning the cost, or is it the private one in a few years is allowed to go up and the affordable 300 you're saying has got to stay at a certain limit? Or do they all stay right across the board at a price per unit for rent?
The affordability is designated as far as the price goes. So the 347 and the 150, the residents pay 30% of their household towards 30% of their income towards their housing expenses. So for them, if their income doesn't change, then their rent stays the same, so to speak. Related to the affordable units, what HUD does every year is they find out basically what the fair market rents are. And so then they'll issue every year what the fair market rents are for 30% AMI, 50%, so on and so forth. So if the incomes have dropped in Hawaii, then the rents will drop. And actually, we actually had that this year because we actually started leasing the units last year. But the median income in Hawaii dropped from 2012 to 2013. So the residents in those units, actually, their rent dropped by, let's say, $10 a month.
I see. Thank you.
Is there any other question? Mr. Kamano?
My concern, I think I shared it last meeting, is with the overflow of parking into the residential areas, Hawiki Street, Kino Street. How many stalls are there right now, and will it accommodate for this new growth or whatever the plan is?
Well, definitely as part of the whole neighborhood initiatives and improvements, we'll definitely be looking at parking because we know how parking is so limited in Kalihi. As far as our community goes, I encourage you to drive by and drive through there any time. Our parking lots are half empty, and we actually added 54 parking spaces. So it will be really interesting to kind of find out who's parking there and why, because we have more than adequate parking in our community.
Added 54 brings it a total of?
I don't know that number off the top of my head, but I can report back to you next time. How about that?
That'd be great. One last question. Is it one assigned stall per resident?
I don't have my property management team here. Annie knows. Oh, by the way, Annie's our Director of Social Services. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to introduce you, Annie. So it's 2 parking places per, 2 per unit. A lot of our residents actually don't even have, they just do bus as far as transportation goes. So, but I can find out what the total parking count is.
Okay, any other questions, audience? I think we're off to a good start. It might be too preliminary right now to have board action, but we're definitely on the way of supporting this. Of speaking amongst ourselves, I think it would be good to have ongoing presentations as we progress down the line, and just to keep us in the loop and eventually leading towards. Oh.
I was just going to say about the
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, aloha. Joey or Dennis, you could get up here and talk about this, but it's about the Safe Routes to School initiative that we just launched. This is under Joey's Neighborhood Task Force, and we had our first meeting, and we're going to start with non-infrastructure programs, education, but DTS is going to help us with planning. They're going to be going in and looking at ways to mitigate the parking issue, drainage issues along Kamehameha 4 Road and Hauike. So please join us. Yeah, see?
I'd like to say Mr. Iono should be up there too. Say,
Yeah,
place
thank you very
Mr.
much.
Iono's
And
name on the.
I have to say, just backing up a little bit before I talk about the neighborhood task force. What sold me about this project when I was working at the state capitol was really, for me as the representative for the area, we were getting a lot of complaints from the residents as far as, hey, my water's cold, we're not getting clean water in our units, elevators are broken, we were getting these calls, fire alarms, all. Since Michael's took over the KPT, the management of the towers, that has completely, I think, been resolved. We haven't gotten any complaints. They've been very responsive, and I think the public-private partnership is a good model for other housing projects or housing projects that we have for here in the state as well as the city. And I think the city is also moving towards this kind of a partnership. And really what it did for us in the state was, and Sam will attest to this, is actually when when I saw that this project work was about a year ago when we were going over the budget, and I saw the savings that came out of KPT, money that we would otherwise be putting in for repairs and maintenance, resulted in actually $11 million savings for the state that we were able to put back into HPHA. So that was the result of the public-private partnership. That's really when I said, oh, well, this is perfect. And at that time, I think they just got done with Tower B. Everybody was moved in. As they said, they had a 96% retention of the residents that stayed there. So it was, for me, it was a dream. But now I think we're extending the project out to the surrounding areas, and I wanted to be a part of it, and I'm very excited to be a part of it. We haven't officially met yet. We've had initial meetings as to maybe what we wanted to consider tackling, and Chair Wong, I think this is one of the things that we did decide. Actually, we just decided yesterday by accident, and we wanted to get the committee together, was to do safe routes to school. Look at some grant funding to address the area of Camphor Road down to Fern School, and start from there and basically kind of work our way out, I think, is the idea of the neighborhood task force. There's some other committees here, as was mentioned. Sam is the chair for the steering committee, which oversees all the 3 committees. There's a housing task force chaired by Hakeem, who's the head of HPHA, and then the People's Task Force, who's headed by Senator Chen Oakland. She's good at getting a lot of people together. I think she's got a lot of people on her committee, but not nearly as much as we have, Chair. But we will call a formal meeting of the neighborhood task force committee, and then we can bring in some more ideas, and at that point maybe discuss and meet everybody all at once. So I think that's our challenge now. But anyway, I just wanted to say that on behalf of this project, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And we're asking for your help and your vision. We wanted some representation from this area. So thank you.
And I think from this board standpoint, there is a trickle-down effect. When neighboring areas receive this type of funding and is rejuvenated, it acts as in a way, it radiates to neighboring areas. And that's what I foresee way down the line. Well, hopefully not way down the line, but Kamehameha 4 revitalizations continuing and even progressing beyond what it already has. So that's my vision in terms of this area and what we can look at in the future.
I'll volunteer Michael's, because they always say, hey, if you want to come down and check it out. So if you guys want to take a tour of the place, call Monica, call Annie, let them know, and you guys should go down and see the units. I'll come down with you guys.
And again,
We're
the
actually
makeup.
going to have a blessing ceremony in June. The date's to be determined, but please, you're welcome to join us then. We'll let you know.
Sweet. Well, board members, this board, the makeup is about to change again. We're going to go into new terms. So for those members that won't be joining us, or as we rotate officers in the elections, I encourage you to get involved in the community in as many other aspects as you can. With that, we look forward to your next update. We'll schedule it down the line. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.